Hi everybody. Today is day 16 of the 30-day video challenge. And today I want to dive into something that has given me a good foundation, someplace from where I have become more stable in my development throughout my spiritual practice. I had touched on the the need for me to find the gap between my highest high and my lowest lows, try to narrow that down. But while I'm trying to narrow that down, I'm trying to lift the entire structure higher, right? Raise my vibration in general, but not to do it in a way that I fluctuate greatly in my emotional state, which I have done, right? So those of you who've known me for a number of years know that I kind of step into some dips that are pretty tumultuous, and I haven't been doing that last in the recent, I'd say 2 years or so. I mean, there was a few moments here or there, but by and large, I've been pretty stable. And part of that has to do with my understanding of the universe. And I get my understanding of the universe and how it functions basically from a channeling that was done by an entity that called itself Ra, which is not a singular entity but a conscious collective, Ra, and they called it the Ra material, the Law of One. And it's broken up into 5 books, but it's just one continuous conversation after another over the course of 3 years, from 1981 until 1984, with this being that was channeled. And then I think a same group or similar group of people tapped into another entity in that collective, um, and the name escapes me at the moment, but is also, a practitioner of the law of one. And so I just kind of want to give the base synopsis of how I understand the universe to function, um, because there's a little inconsistency with my assertion of oneness, and that everything is God experiencing itself simultaneously from every possible perspective. Um, because if everything is one thing, then we all rise and fall together. However, there are stages of elemental development, as I understand it, and there are basically 7 levels of flow, and then after that 7, of course, you enter a new octave, right? So if you were to think of the music scales, you have every good boy does fine in face, and then you reach a new octave, right? That's the general sense of how music functions. Also, too, is the universe. And so I just kind of want to start with the notion that, when we think about the 3 dimensions, we think about, up, down, left, right, and out, right? And those are the 3 dimensions. But really, all of that is just a confined portion of all that is. And before you ever get to any given direction, any dimension in the scientific sense, as science has chosen to explain what a dimension is, um, there is consciousness. Everything is consciousness. It's all one consciousness. But, I can digress greatly. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to try to stay focused. So everything is consciousness, and so therefore you have various stages of consciousness, right? So you have first density, which is consciousness without a sense of self. And without a sense of self, of course, you're talking about all of your, um, you know, earth, dirt, you know, items that you can tear apart and take apart and rip. The walls, right, is all part of that process. Air is also part of that process. Really, pretty much any gas, for that matter, is all first density consciousness. It's consciousness without a sense of self. It doesn't identify that it is itself. It will not seek to protect itself from anything. It just exists. So you have earth, air, fire, and water. One could argue, though, that water is just like air or any other gas, just in a liquid form, right? Based on temperature. Well, I mean, for the same thing, you could say Earth, right, is just a liquid that's too cool in this environment for it to be liquefied. You have molten lava and all that stuff, right? So it does get to be liquid, and it could also be gas. My point is, though, that dead things, right? Dead things, they themselves no longer identify that consciousness no longer identifies as self. It will not fight to protect itself. But on the molecular level, of course, there is some identity, right? There is the desire to fight for life and continue to exist as we understand existence to be, although it's all limited, right? Our existence is defined by our senses, the five senses, which we've touched on a number of times. I digress. First density is consciousness without identity of self. Second density is consciousness with a sense of self that understands that it is a thing and it seeks to persist. Right? So that's everything from amoebas all the way to plants and animals and all of that. And how do you get from one to the other? That's a mystery to us at the moment, although, I guess if you have some amino acids and some water and electricity, you can get first density to transition to second density. And then you have third density, and third density, I would argue, is what the human beings are, where we are third density. And what that is we are consciousness with a sense of self, and the additional choice. We have the choice for polarity. That's not to say that other beings in second density don't choose to do some things, because clearly we see them choosing things all the time. The question, though, is polarity. Are they doing things in service to themselves, or are they doing things in service for others? They don't contemplate. I would argue that they do not contemplate those conditions readily, right? If they're on the cusp of transitioning to third density, perhaps they begin to show some of those elements. But we are third density. We're here to choose polarity. And that's really all we're here for. And that is the sole reason, as far as I understand it, that we're here for. It's not to attain, greatness. It's not to accumulate money. It's not to live in poverty and not to live in pain. It is to simply choose, am I in this for me or am I in this for others? And then to what degree are you, right? For that argument, it is at what level are you in it for yourself, and at what level are you in it for others? Because it's a varying degree. There's always somebody doing more, providing more, doing less, providing less. There's a vast range in that, and we can get into that at another day. Fourth density is about love, and you can ascend from third density to fourth density negative, or ascend from third density to fourth density positive. But the task at achieving those is not the same. And again, we'll get into that at another day. But fourth density is the density of love, and it's love of self or love of other. And then fifth density is wisdom, and in fifth density it is wisdom of love for self and the wisdom of love for other. And then in sixth density, it all kind of comes back in to culminate into the understanding that everything is one. And then it's the combination of wisdom and love in harmony, right? That becomes more homogeneous, and there's less polarity establishing, because it that's where we begin to really understand and become aware of the universe and how it functions. And then seventh density, it becomes the overseer of all of the other densities, and support of structure, right? So these are going to be your planetary entities, your logos entities, right? Not specifically the body of the sun, right? Any more than I am my body, nor is the logos the sun itself or earth itself, right? Earth is made up of all of everything that's on it and in it. That is a physical form, and so it has everything from first density all the way up to fifth density in it. And so then, once you've reached that level where you are now the container of all that is, the next thing is the next octave. And according to Ra, they don't really know what's coming next. And so therefore, I don't really know what's coming next. All I could think of is that it just goes on and on and on and on and on forever. And so if all we're doing here is just living life and choosing polarity, and we live and die and multiple times until we accumulate enough polarity to ascend positive or ascend negative, then that's where we are. That's what we do. And I'm going to have to end it there because I'm running out of time. So I'll pick this up again tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be coherent continuation of where we are today. All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.